y'all, it's Sarah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. You can find me over on Instagram and Threads at The Magical Reader. Alright y'all, so my dog is here. He might be in the frame right now. He loves to be around. So y'all, today's video is going to be my most surprising books of 2023. So these could be surprising good, surprising not so good, things that I didn't plan on reading, all that sort of jazz. So if you are interested in hearing my most surprising books of 2023, just keep watching. Alright y'all, first book on my list is really a series, and that's the Throne of Glass series. So I've mentioned before on my channel that I've read Throne of Glass, and I actually don't remember it. Believe it or not, I only really remember the first and second book. From then on, I don't really remember anything that happens, and so I've been rereading them, and it's like I never read them before. It's the weirdest experience. Honestly, like in Heir of Fire, I was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? I'm like, girl, you already read this, like you know what's gonna happen, but I didn't know. So I would just say I'm really surprised by the fact that one, I don't remember anything, and two, that I'm actually loving them more the second time around, and especially some of the books that I didn't appreciate as much the first time, namely Heir of Fire. But just scenes in the books that I didn't even remember happening, or that just didn't stand out to me as much as they do now. I don't know what it is, but Throne of Glass has me hooked. I am so surprised because when I was going back to reread these, it was more of like a chore for SJM research purposes, but now I'm actually really enjoying it and wanting to just get back to it. Okay, so next book on my list is Counting the Cost by Jill Duggar. So I read Ginger's book earlier this year and I thought it was fine. It was kind of what I was expecting it to be, but then I read Counting the Cost and I was like, oh my gosh, like she goes in. And I wasn't looking for like a tell-all, I wasn't looking for drama, right? Their family story is much more significant than just drama, obviously, based on what their family has gone through and continue to go through. And I really appreciated her openness in talking about her parents and her brother and really the wrongs that she's recognized in them, and she didn't gloss over anything. She talks about a lot of her difficulties, and I was just surprised with how much she really strays from her family's beliefs and from really interacting with them. And it's hard to be proud of someone you don't know, but I feel proud of her for really separating herself from that toxic lifestyle that she grew up in and that was allowed to perpetuate within her family. So I was very surprised with Counting the Cost, which is, again, Jill Duggar's memoir. Y'all, Griffey wants to be the main character today. He is all over it. He keeps bringing me his ball. He wants me to throw it. All right, Stinker. There you go. What a hoot. All right, so the next book that I have on the list Alright, so the next book that I have on the list is The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth. So I read like 2 thrillers a year. I used to read exclusively like mystery thriller, spy, intrigue, police procedural, all that sort of stuff. Now I read like 1 or 2 a year. And this was an audio that I had an advanced listening copy of. I work with Libro FM and they gifted me a credit for a book, and during the month that they gifted it to me, I wasn't super interested in any of the choices, but this one stood out and it was short, so I decided to read it. Trigger warning for self-harm here, but the main premise of the story is that there are people who jump from the wall by their home off the edge of the coast, and the husband in the family has been helping people off of the wall and helping them to save themselves, essentially. And in this book, the husband is out on the wall and a woman falls, and the wife thinks that she sees him push her. And it's just the whole saga of what really happened, who's telling the truth, all that sort of stuff. Very short audio, but I thought the audio was really good. It was different than thrillers that I normally read, so I thought it was just going to be the same old, but I actually couldn't really tell what was going to happen. and I was really pleasantly surprised by it, and I would probably pick up another book by this author, especially if I had the audio. All right, next one up on my list is going to be Migrations, and the author that wrote Migrations, the author that wrote Migrations also wrote Once There Were Wolves, so I wasn't surprised that it would be as good as it was because I love Once There Were Wolves. My mom read it with me and she loved it too. I was just surprised that I ended up finishing the book, first of all, and then I ended up liking it because this is just, Griffey helps me review books. So I ended up finishing it because I started listening to the audiobook and I'd gotten about an hour into it and I just like couldn't see where it was going, and I didn't really feel interested in the characters. I had like a 14-hour drive and this was the book I had downloaded, and I just didn't really care to keep going, and I was like, well, I guess I'll turn on music. And then like an hour later I got bored of my music and I decided to turn it back on. And I got hooked. I literally have been thinking while listening to my music, oh, you're not going to finish that book, just return it, blah, blah, whatever. You know, no big deal. It just wasn't for you. Not that it wasn't good, I just couldn't connect. I finished that book and wept in the car, y'all. I loved it so much. It was one of the saddest books I've ever read. I'm trying to force everyone I know to read it. I'm making my mom read it. I'm making my dad read it. Yeah, so I was just surprised that I even finished the book, and then I was obsessed with it. So, most surprising book of the year might be this one. Okay, so next on my list is Fourth Wing, and Fourth Wing is a weird one for me because I was surprised that I wasn't the ultimate fangirl. So, when I got onto Bookstagram, ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses, was like the thing, right? And everyone was obsessed with it, and I just thought I wouldn't be into it, and then it had the most hype you could ever see, and I ended up loving it. And I thought the same thing that happened with Fourth Wing, and it was good. It was fine, right? But I was surprised that it just didn't become my entire personality. So I'm about to read the second one. I know I've been saying that for like 37 videos in a row. I'm about to read the second one. I'm hoping that I end up like screaming head over heels for it. But I was just surprised that I wasn't like the dragon girl all of a sudden. But I could get there. I could get there. All right, second to last on my list is a YA fantasy series, and it is The Prison Healer. So I feel like this book didn't get as big of like a buzz in the United States maybe as it did in Australia, where the author is from. It's like the #1 book in Australia and has been since it came out. Sorry, playing fetch with my dog while we do this video. And I could be wrong, but I felt like the buzz wasn't as high in the US when it came out. I started seeing everyone and their mother read this book last year. Y'all, I didn't think that I was going to love it as much as I did because I'm kind of trending away from YA fantasy. I've read a lot of it. I've been reading it for 20 years. And so I thought I had kind of like seen it and that it would be fine, but I wouldn't be obsessed. I also am not the biggest fan of elemental magic, and that is a large portion of the story. But shoot, y'all. I read the first one for book club because basically y'all forced me to pick it as the pick, which I was fine with. And I immediately went to the second one and then immediately went to the third one and needed to know what happened. I already want to reread it, and I just read it like 6 months ago. So thank you. But I was so surprised that I just like found a series that I wanted to dive in and be obsessed with, because a lot of YA fantasy series that I've read in the past couple years, I've read the first one and been like, okay, it seems similar to other things, or it made me recall other things, or I just couldn't get into the characters. And this one, it had me hooked. Very surprised. Right, and last book on the list is Legends and Lattes. So Legends and Lattes, I'm sorry if this is distracting. Legends and Lattes is a cozy fantasy that the author says is high fantasy, low stakes, and that could not be a better description. I was surprised by this book because, one, it was short. It was a standalone at the time, and it was low stakes, like cozy, not a lot of like action-y plot. And for me, if there is not a lot of action, if it is not high-paced, like intense, typically I don't like it. Just like my preferences, right? Not that it's not good, but just my preferences. Y'all, this book again was so good. I read it in a day, and I never have the time or wherewithal to read a book in a day anymore. And I finished this one so fast. I was buddy reading it with one of my friends, and she was like, you're done? I was like, oh yeah, I'm done, sorry. So I was just surprised how obsessed I was with this one, because it was so kind of like casual. And yeah, I applied for an ARC at the second one, got it, and just like over the moon with this author's work. So yes, Legends and Lattes surprised me by being one that I'm obsessed with. So those are the, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books that I read this year that surprised me the most. And I want y'all to let me know down below some books that surprised you this year too. So before you leave, don't forget to hit the like button. That definitely helps me out. It boosts my videos for other people to see. And don't forget to subscribe, because there are more people that watch my videos than are subscribed. So please click the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.